It's my goal to help you understand the secrets of not just herbal medicine, but also healing and a lot of the traditions, how they work, and reveal the secrets, but also simplify them. So we make things easier to understand because a lot of these things can be quite difficult to integrate into your daily life. So, welcome along. I will share with you something at the end. What we're going to talk about today is change. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a link to a couple of things that can really help empower change. And just talking about change, it's really interesting when you start a new year because it's kind of, a new year, everything sort of starts afresh. And a lot of us have these things called New Year's resolutions. And often that involves a bit of change. So, how do we do that and why do we do that? And what's the significance of really integrating change into your health program or your health protocol or your journey of healing? So think of it this way. When you don't change or you get stuck in your ways, you're unable to adapt to changes in your environment. And it's so important to be able to change. And you've probably in the past come across people that won't change or refuse to change their ways, and they suffer the consequences. And you can see that happening. It's really hard, isn't it, when you see friends or family or people you care about stick with their patterns and just keep going down the same road and suffer health issues. So let me explain a little bit about that because I think you'll find this really fascinating. Animals, for example, when the climate changes, when the seasons change, they quite often they'll migrate or they'll go to a different area on the planet. They'll move right across the planet or on a continent. They'll move to where the weather's better or where the food is available. And that's an example of change, changing your position or your location. So as human beings, we need to be able to change. And it's so important to our health because if we're unable to change or move with the times or move with the environment, we start to suffer physically in our bodies. Health issues start to appear because it becomes so stressful on the body. So a good example is the seasons. You need to change with the seasons. So having food that's in season and not sticking to food that's out of season, because that greatly affects your metabolic function, your digestive function, the heat and coolness of your body. So all of those things are really important. So what else should we change? Well, another good example is our thinking or, our relationship with the times and the environment. So, and you might have noticed recently that, it's happened around the world. There's been a bit of a pushback against, authoritarianism in the governments and, overreach in governments and that sort of thing. So people have said, hey, we want our voices back and be heard. So that's quite a significant thing. That's why we have democratic systems, so we can change, so the people can say, we want change. Again, it's really important, not just to our internal health, but to our greater health. So habits. Now, we've all got habits or vices, and these things can be really difficult to change. And so one of the things we do with herbal medicine is we look for patterns. So somebody might have, for example, a health condition with their liver, and you might identify that they drink regularly. And so that's a good example of, hey, something needs to change to improve your health. And we all know this, but how often is that applied in real life in the health system, in the modern health system, and really, put into action? And so it's very easy to say, hey, you need to cut back on something, or you need to improve something, or start having something healthy. But how do you actually empower that change? And that's where traditional herbal medicine or traditional healing practices are really good. Now, there was a doctor, they called him New Zealand's greatest doctor, Ulrich Williams. And he was based in Wanganui, New Zealand. And he developed this almost like his own hospital because so many people were getting healed because his basic fundamental practice was identify what they're doing wrong and get them to stop doing it. A really, really simple philosophy for healing. But I think there's an even simpler way of getting people to change and to improve their health, which is identify what people are doing wrong and then look for what they could do right and substitute. So, for example, if you're having breakfast cereal in the morning that's come off the supermarket shelf, most of those are highly processed foods. Well, one thing you could do is just change that to a smoothie, with fruit or vegetables. So it's unprocessed food. One simple little thing could change your whole picture. So that's a good example of change in action. Another good one is to do cleanse. Now, that's something that I talk about a lot, is detoxing and cleansing. But what that does is it kind of forces you to commit to a few days of, clean diet, and you can choose something that you want to change. And at the end of that period, you can stick with that change. So it's empowering you to make the change. So every time I do a cleanse myself, I personally change something. So over the Christmas break, I've had a few too many fizzy drinks. I've had a can of drink here and there. I've had a few desserts, a few extra desserts that I don't normally have. So I'm going to cut those things out completely now, go on a cleanse for a couple of weeks and have a lot of, green smoothies, for example. We're going to talk about this a lot more in a couple of weeks' time. We do a webinar, and I'll give you a link to that, but really explaining how, doing a cleanse triggers the healing in your body and how it triggers that change. So I want to talk about one more principle, which is really, really crucial to understanding change. This is the resilience factor. So if you don't adapt to your changing environment, then you become stressed and eventually something breaks. And that's because to change, you need to be resilient and adaptable. And so practicing change, looking for something that you can change on a regular basis, like 3 or 4 times a year, in fact, is looking for some little incremental thing that you can change. Don't get stuck in a habit. And what that does is it builds resilience. So in other words, you become more adaptable, more flexible, more resilient. And that whole resilience package enables your body and your mind and your emotional being to cope with ongoing change that's happening around you in your life. So important, because we all know, and we've all probably suffered some kind of loss, or we've had to be forced into a situation we didn't want to be in, and that's like there's a change that's happened, but we didn't want it to happen, and that's where the adaptability and the flexibility and the resilience to change really comes into play. And you will see some people suffer terrible depression with loss or anxiety, and just completely fall apart. And it's like there's no hope. And that's because something's changed that they weren't expecting. And unfortunately, that's the nature of life, isn't it? Things happen that we don't want to happen. And that's a fact of life that's going to go on throughout our lives. And so forcing ourselves to practice the philosophy or the principle of change and being adaptable and flexible can save our life. Literally, it can save us from suffering a great collapse when change does come. So I thought I'd share that with you today. And just in closing, I thought you might like a link. So I'm going to share with you a link now to, this is QR code. You'll see it in the top right corner. That's to the webinar. Excuse me. That's the webinar that we're doing on the 24th of January. So you're welcome to scan that code and you'll be able to register to come to our webinar. What we're going to talk about over that, it'll be an hour-long webinar, is how you can heal your body with herbs and with food, and how you can integrate these things in over time and trigger the healing process. It's a really great thing to understand, because once you realize that you can make little changes, little incremental changes over a period of time, over years, in fact, that your body can get stronger and stronger and stronger. and more healthy rather than the opposite. And you become more and more adaptable to change and stronger and more capable of coping with life and what it throws at you. And therefore, your health, your long-term health is greatly improved. So thanks for watching us today. If you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the comments below, and we'll reply to every single one of them. So we love to help in any way we can with your health journey. So I'm going to do these live broadcasts hopefully every couple of weeks. We may even start doing them more often. If you like what you see and what we're sharing with you, then I'll do my best. So this is just the beginning of this Secrets of Herbal Healing, and we're going to delve into things, some of the things that are quite deep and difficult to understand, and simplify them for you so that you can really grasp the power that's available with holistic herbal healing. And it's a fascinating subject. There's so much you can do with it to help yourself, but also to help others. So I'm really grateful to be here with you on a journey, and I'd love to see you again, and we will talk soon. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.